Welcome to Naval Action Basics. In this video, we're going to be covering how to move your ship both in the open world and in combat. Starting for now, we're in open world, watching the world around us, just out of port. One thing to take notice before you start sailing is the bottom right hand corner, indicated by my mouse. You'll see a compass, the shape of your ship in the center, and a blue arrow indicating the wind direction. To increase your speed in open world, use the W button. Using W will increase by each tap your amount of sail and thereby your speed, going from dead slow to battle sails to slow, half, and in the end, full sails. To turn your ship, use A or D for left and right. D for right, A for left. Starboard or port for those with a bit more affinity to naval action terms or maritime terms. To decrease your speed, simply press your S button and you'll decrease your sail over time by the same amount as when increasing, coming to a full stop. Take note of the wind direction in the open world as it changes, rotating around counterclockwise on the compass. Coming with the wind will increase your speed, and moving against the wind will decrease your speed. As you'll see here, as I increase to full speed, it takes a bit of time to get all the sails set, picking up speed. And as I have the wind almost at quarter, turning starboard, my speed will increase as I move this wind more to my quarter. Now, if I were to do a port turn using the A button, you'll see slightly as the wind turns relative to my ship and my sails, my speed will decrease. Now, as I have the wind on the bow, I'm still moving as it's open world, but I'm moving slowly. So in open world, you'll never get stuck with the wind direction, but you will move relatively to the wind. And that is simple open world movement. Just to recap, WASD to move, W to increase your sails, S to decrease your sails, and A and D to turn your ship, starboard and port, right and left. Now let's move into combat. As you go through open world, you'll spot NPCs moving around the world able for you to attack. If you play on the PvP server, it could also be other players. On the PvE server, you can only attack NPC ships. To get into combat with an NPC or player ship, hover over it and left click. You'll see a circle coming around the ship and a square in the top left corner indicating what kind of ship it is, if it has a fleet, and if you're within the larger circle, it gives you the ability to attack that ship. You need to match the speed and the direction of the ship to tag it. So as I'm going around, I'm going half speed, decreasing to slow to match the speed, and I can decide what angle I want to engage the enemy on. I'm going to decrease a lot more, getting him onto my side, and as I press the attack button, you'll see in the center what I've targeted and a countdown from 10 seconds indicating when we go into combat. And this is just solo play combat. If you're attacking as a group, the rest of the group, if less than 6 people, will have to wait for you to have attacked the ship and then press the swords indicated as you saw before, the red ones, and enter a circle indicated by their nation to join the combat that you have initiated. But for now, let's focus on solo play. As we enter into combat, we'll start with a countdown of either 30 seconds or 15. We start at 15. Coming into combat, you can initiate commands already, so I can increase my sails or set my guns as preferred. But this is covered in the gunnery and combat section. For now, we'll be covering movement in combat. First, my following ship I am going to set to stop and hold fire. We'll let the enemy move, and I'll show you how to start moving our own ship. As with open world, it's still WASD. W to increase your sails, S to decrease, A to turn to port or left, D to turn right or starboard. So first up, we'll increase our sail to half sail. If you look at the bottom left corner, you'll see slowly the percentage of my amount of sail going up. And if you zoom out, you can see sail being set on your ship. This will keep increasing until you reach the percentage of sail selected. To turn my ship, I can simply press the A or D keys to turn. If you look at the bottom left, you'll see a line with the square on it. That is indicating your rudder position. So if I turn left, you'll see the rudder turning left as indicated. Here. If I turn right, the bar moves right. Another option to turn the ship is to double tap either A or D, and it will lock your rudder in the full turn position, in this case full turn left, and it will stay there until you disengage the rudder. Simply do this by clicking the opposite direction, in this case D. Another option to increase your turns is to control your sails. This particular ship has 3 sets of masts: foremast, mainmast and the mizzenmast. I can control the angle of my sail on these masts by using the Q and E buttons for my foremast and the Z and C for my mainmast and mizzenmast. So if you look at my foremast, if I press Q, you'll see the foremast sails turn both on the ship and in your indicator in your bottom left. If I press E and hold it, it will change slightly and stop when I release the button. If I double tap it, it will turn all the way over. I can do the same with the Z and C to control my main mast and my mizzen mast. Pressing C set twice, move it completely, or holding down a button will move it slowly, and it will stop when you release the button. You'll also notice that you have above the compass something called skipper, and now it says manual. It's because I've been manually changing my sails. If I want to return to automatic and let the game control my sails, I simply press F. You'll see it now changes to skipper auto, and the game will turn my sails for me to give me the most optimal positioning of my sails. So as I go into a turn, you'll see the game itself adjusting my sails to give me the maximum amount of speed. To come back to manual, I can either use Q, E, Z or C and change my settings of sails, and it will automatically go to manual. Another thing I can do I was going to say press F, but that only works for taking you back to auto. So by changing your sails manually by using Q and E, that or C will take you into manual skipper. Pressing F will take you back to automatic skipper, and as you can see, it automatically changes direction of my sails. The point of this is it allows you better control of your ships, faster and sharper turns depending on the wind direction, and if you come hard against the wind, it will help you tack and turn the ship, which I'll show you later. Now I'll show you a full starboard turn, going full sails with the wind around on auto sails. So full rudder by double tapping D. My skipper is still set at auto, and you'll see the wind and my sails change as I turn around. What you'll also see is the very slight curve that my ship turns in. Gives me a rather wide arc of turning. As the wind changes relative to my ship and my sails, you'll see the speed indicated in knots changing. Now, moving my rudder back to the central line, going straight forward. If I want to increase the angle of my turn or reduce my turn circle, I can use my sails. As the wind is coming astern slightly from my rear, moving forward, I can turn my mizzen sails manually, in this case moving them to the left, because that's the direction of the wind, fully over. And if I move my main mizzen mast sails all the way to the right, or starboard, you'll see without turning the rudder, my ship will actually start to turn. If I engage my rudder as well, you'll see the turn comes faster, and the turn cycle or turn radius becomes more shallow. It will decrease my speed compared to use auto skipper, but it makes for faster turning if you need to get a broadside in or angle away from a broadside in combat. Coming back to rudder amidships, turning my sails to auto, the game will change the sails back to the optimal setting. As I now have my sail at full speed, and if I want to slow my ship down, I have several options. The first thing I can do is decrease my sails by depowering. Pressing the T button will remove my sails and take some of my speed off as I decrease the wind let into my main sails. You'll see the speed in my bottom left corner is slightly dropping. This also decreases the amount of heel you have on your ship. If you look at bottom left again, at the current moment with the wind coming from my port side into my mast, I have a heel of 2%, 1 to 2% heeling to my starboard side. If I press T again, you'll see it says depowered. If I press T, go back to putting my base sails on. Depending on the wind and the direction, my heel might increase. It went up from 2 to 3% or degrees heel. This will affect my gunnery as well, covered in a later video. Another option to decrease my speed is simply to decrease my sail by using the S button. As I decrease over time, I will take down the sails, reducing the percentage of an amount of sails set, and thereby my speed. Now I cannot just do a full stop in 1 second. This is kinetic movement, and even though I reduce my sails to full stop, it will still take my crew time to decrease my sails. As you can see by the video, it does take some time to come to a full stop once your ship actually gets moving. I'm now at 0% sail, but still moving forward at 6 knots. This is often the method new players will use by increasing and decreasing your amount of sail to increase and decrease power and thereby your speed. Another option is actually moving your sails manually, as I'll show you now. As long as you use Skipper Auto, the game will give you the optimal settings to give you the maximum amount of speed for the amount of sails and the wind you have set. However, in this example, we're moving with the wind astern, coming in slightly from the rear. If I start to turn my sails when I reach my maximum speed in a second, going about 9.6 should be the good speed. If I actually turn my sails by using the Q, E, Z and C buttons, I can change the setting of my sails and thereby the speed. I'm now at 10.5 and I'll slightly turn my sails, all sets, to port side. This will decrease the amount of wind hitting my sails and thereby decreasing my speed. The further I turn my sails, the more I decrease my speed. My sails are now fully turned towards the wind, so the wind comes parallel to my sails and almost no wind hits the sails. That will decrease my speed over time as well. If I also remove my stale sails by pressing T to depower, the speed will drop even further. This method takes a bit of practice, takes a bit of getting to know your ship and practice in combat over time to multitask and control so many features at the same time, but it is a more viable way to control your speed in game instead of taking sails and setting sails. And if I want to return to fully skipper automatic, press F and my sails will turn automatically and speed will increase. The last maneuver we're going to show you is tacking. As I do a full turn, in this case to the port side, the wind will change relative to my ship, or as they say, the ship will change according to the wind. At some point, the wind is going to change from coming astern, coming from the side, or from stern to quarter, to bow, to dead on. You'll see my sails are changing, but also that my speed is now dropping because now the wind is turning onto my bow. At some point we're gonna have the wind coming in dead ahead. If you look at the bottom left, you'll notice a heavy decrease in my speed and the wind is almost fully up at the front of my bow. And you'll see also that my ship stops turning slowly. Speed has been almost decreased to 0, meaning we have stopped. And at a certain point it will go into negative, which actually means we're moving backwards, moving backwards, and we have stopped turning. Now, if I want to continue my turn to the port side, I have to change my sail settings. Now, using your mizzenmast sail and your main sails is the easiest. In this case, I want to continue to the port side, so I'll increase my sails up the wind by double pressing the set button, and you'll see my main mast and mizzenmast moving. At the same time as I'm moving at a negative speed, meaning backwards, I'll use my rudder to turn into the opposite direction that I want my bow to turn to. So I'll move my rudder fully to the port side or right. You'll now notice that my ship is once again turning to my port side, but still moving at a negative speed, meaning I'm moving backwards, but I'm turning my bow into the wind still. To increase this effect, I can depower my sails and the turn will become faster. What you'll see in the bottom left corner is the wind pushing the sails and thereby moving the ship in a curve. Now the wind is pushing on my full mast sails and the rudder is turning the bow to the starboard, pressing the wind around. At some point, the negative speed will decrease, head towards zero. At this point of time, at least when you reach zero, you want to stop turning and put your sails back to manual. Repower your sails to pick up the speed. And if you want to, increase your turn once more to fully complete the turn. And that is how you tack in naval action. I'll show you once more. For now, rudder midships or in the middle. The wind is on our starboard side, and we'll initiate a starboard turn with skipper on auto, double tapping D, and push our rudder to fully starboard. And we'll be moving towards the wind, and you'll see the speed slowly decrease as the wind moves to our bow. And this time I'll try to do it a bit more fluently. I know my ship, and I know now that I'm starting to lose power heavily. So to make sure I get it a bit more fluently, I'm already now double tapping C to turn my main sails and mizzen sails, having the wind still pushing me into the wind, and you'll see now that I've almost reached 1 knot. I'm pushing my rudder to port, and as I go into a backwards motion, my rudder is almost completely turned. I'll depower my staysails and complete the tack. If you can, aim to have your rudder amidships when your speed reaches 0. Slightly delayed there. I'll be turning my sails auto, full port turn, starboard turn, and I'm repowering my staysails, picking up speed and continuing my movement. Tacking is a maneuver each and every captain must learn and get accustomed to using frequently, both in solo combat but also when you do larger group actions, because you will be at some points either caught out or have to turn the entire fleet around to come back and engage the enemy. So, quick recap. Moving your rudder is done by A and D, and double tapping either A or D will get your rudder locked to that side in full turn. You only hold down the button, it will turn, but as soon as you release the button again, it will set rudder amidships. Increasing speed or sails is done by W. Decreasing is done by S. Depowering your staysails is done by T, indicated by depowering. And powering your staysails or setting your staysails is pressing T again. Turning your foremast sails is done by Q for the port, E for starboard. Mainmast sails and mizzen sails is done by C and Z, Z for port, and C starboard. Changing from skipper manual, if you've manually changed your sail setting, back to auto is pressing F. So as we want to come to a full stop, pressing F until yes, stop. And to further decrease, I will turn all my sails to the port side and depower my staysails. This is one of the fastest way to stop your ship if you have the wind at quarter or at your stern. With the wind in front of you, you can turn your sails upwind. The last thing we're going to cover is the crew needed to actually power your sails. We'll further cover the UI at the bottom center when we get into combat, but one is very used for sailing. If you press your 6 button, you'll deactivate sailing crew and you'll see the box gets grayed out. Pressing 6 once more, activate crew assigned to your sails. And if you have crew assigned, you can control your sails. If you don't have crew assigned or not enough crew on your ship, you cannot turn or control your sails. It means you cannot turn them manually and you cannot set or decrease sail. More on crew damage and crew allocations when we get into the combat part. So, all for now, this is Movement in Combat in Naval Action. Thank you for watching.